When most people think of recording studios, they think of these huge, great soffit-mounted monitors stuck several meters back behind the huge, great mixing console. But that kind of monitoring is not necessary for making trance music. It would be nice, but it's not necessary. For the most part, all we need are a really good top quality set of near-field monitors. Near-field monitoring is the kind of monitoring you do with the speakers relatively close to your ears, so there's a direct line between your ear and the speaker. What this does is it minimizes the amount of reflections and reverb, and so maximizing the clarity of the stereo picture. You should also set it up so that your head is at the apex of an equilateral triangle. So in this kind of environment here, which is a kind of typical trance head studio, much more so than the last picture, so it's much more likely to be that kind of environment, or even this type of environment, which is a much more minimal software studio, which is completely based around the computer and virtual instruments, which is quite similar to my current setup. Gone are the days of the big analog mixing desk, the wall-to-wall analogs, and the big rack full of effects, all making loads of heat. Now here's some recommendations for you specifically for making trance music. These are the Genelec A240s, really top quality, very revealing, state-of-the-art, excellent monitors. Go loud enough, go low enough, and precise enough on the bass. Here's another excellent choice in this about the same price bracket. This particular model is the Adam P11A. Really good, top quality, state-of-the-art, and particularly revealing top end because of the ART ribbon tweeters, which really add a sparkly sense of depth to the upper frequencies. These are the Dynaudio BM6As, a particular favourite of mine. That I have a pair of these at the moment, and I get on very well with them. And the mixes I do with them seem to translate very well to the dance floor and other systems, which after all is what it's all about. I also find them very pleasant to listen to for long periods. This next system is a Blue Sky Media Desk. It's a 2.1 system. That is to say, it has a left and a right speaker, and the 0.1 means the subwoofer, which handles the frequencies from about 80 Hz and downwards, i.e. the sub. This is typical of a more modern approach to monitoring, and we're seeing more of this now. I must admit I haven't heard these myself, but I've heard so many good things about them, and also read many good things about them. The price is also good, so I thought it was good to make you aware of it so you can put it on your short list of recommendations to give a listening test to when you finally go monitor shopping. Okay, these next ones are very popular monitors. Mackie have sold truckloads of these monitors. They're actually really, really good. I find them really, really good. They're perhaps not the most refined monitors, but they go really loud. So if you like cranking it up to sound like a club in your studio and you can handle the ear bleeding that goes along with it, then these are the babies for you. The bottom line is I've always been able to get really good mixes out of these. What I hear, it seems to be what I get on the dance floor. So they translate well for me. And they have a huge amount of indestructible bottom end, and they go very convincingly into the sub-bass regions. So really you have to have a big enough room for them. Plus, they've just come out with a groovy new version 2 with a different front and a piano black finish, and they're a particularly good deal at the moment because the US dollar is pretty weak. Assuming that you're living outside the US, they're a particularly good deal at the moment. Here's some advice for you guys who are really serious about making music, but you haven't got loads of cash. Basically, you got two choices. It boils down to this. You can either, one, save up as much money as you can and get a no compromise on the sound quality, but lower powered system, which you can then later augment by adding a sub to, which will give the whole system a lot more power. Or you can buy a kind of mid-range or cheap-end monitoring system, or make do with the hi-fi and trade up to a slightly better thing later, trade that in and trade that up, and so on until you finally arrive at a pro-quality monitoring system. Let me tell you why I think the first option is better and why I recommend it. First off, you'll save yourself loads of aggravation. Because if you don't know, if you can't hear what you're doing properly, you will never know whether it's you, your ears, the room, the monitors, your equipment, the plugins, or why your mixes don't sound like you want them to. That will engender lots of self-doubt, which is completely disempowering. So that's one reason. Second, you'll save yourself loads of money if you just go straight for the jugular and rather than buy things and trade them in, every time you trade something in and you buy a new thing, you lose value and you lose money over that time. Okay, so you lose money. And thirdly, you will lose time, because if you would have got yourself a decent system, a proper pro monitoring system to start with, if you'd have made the investment to begin with, you would have saved all that time, all the time that you were wasting trying to figure out why the bass didn't sound correct and why the kick drum sounds dodgy. You could have spent all that time, rather than in self-flagellation, you could have spent it learning the art of mixing, because you'd have had a system that you can trust, and you would have been able to hear what you were doing. And at the very least, you will have been able to eliminate the monitoring as the problem. If the monitoring's telling the truth, then it must be something that you're doing. So that's why it's good to have the truth, because then you know that you need to work on something that you need to do, rather than going, oh, I don't know what it is. So just remember, you'll save yourself time, you'll save yourself money, you'll save yourself aggravation, and you'll save yourself from self-doubt. So I hope that's clear enough why it's important to make the investment to begin with. Okay, so this next batch are for you guys that don't have a lot of money, enough to pay for the last systems, but you still want to get a top quality pro system, perhaps not with quite as much power as the other ones, but still the same quality. So here's a pair of Dynaudio BM5As, less power than the BM6As, but very pristine sound, and you can get really good mixes out of those, assuming you set them up and position them correctly. Plus you have the option of later adding a sub, so you can boost the power of the whole system. So you could kind of buy them in stages. Similarly with these are the Genelec 8030s, the small brother of the first 8040s that I showed you. Now these don't go quite low enough to shake the floor, but you can get very, very good mixes out of them. And again, you can add a sub later on. The point being is that they are top quality and they give almost all the frequencies apart from the very low subs. And you can, again, buy them in stages. Buy the speakers so you can get on with the work, and later on you can add a sub if you want to start shaking the walls. Another excellent one to consider is the Adam A7. Which has become really popular of late, released quite recently. Stunning sound quality, really flat and revealing. The only compromises being that it doesn't quite have a lot of power in the sub bass, and not quite as powerful in the amps. But again, a good candidate for adding a sub at a later date. And here's a picture of the Adam sub that would go with it. More than enough power, though, to get on with mixing in a near-field environment. In my view, the monitors are one of the most important parts of your studio, if not the most important part. So it's definitely worth spending some time getting it right and making sure you get the right monitors for you. So what you need to do is to make a list of the models that you're interested in trying. You know my opinion on this, you've just watched this video, so there's a whole bunch there that you can choose from. And any others that you may be recommended or interested in from your friends. Okay, so once you made a list of the models that you're interested in trying, book an appointment or just walk into a big music store that has a listening room and has the models that you're interested in trying. Take a CD with you of music that you know really well, an album that you know really well, and have a listening session. The key to auditioning speakers successfully, and you must audition them, you can't just buy them on spec, no matter who tells you, even if it's me. The key is to put the sales assistant in charge of switching between the monitors. Make it a double blind test, so he's switching the monitors and you don't know which ones you're listening to. Have him switch between the monitors with the music that you know, and let your ears tell you what the best monitors are for you. Then ask him which ones they were and buy those ones. Simple. Best of luck with that.